just wanted to get, I was running a house painting company. I couldn't get a job, so I decided to start my own business when I was 20, and I had 12 employees. And I phoned the newspaper and I said, "Hey, it was really hard for me to get a job. I think I have a good story for you." And I called the journalist and he goes, "Well, what is it?" And I told him, and I said, "I'm painting a house 10 blocks from your office. Why don't you come over?" And he said, "Okay." And he came over and he wrote a story and took a picture, and I was in the newspaper the next day. I'm like, that was easy. Um, we've been on Oprah. I've been in like most people will say I've been in Forbes. It's like, no, you were on Forbes website and some blogger wrote about you. I have a full page article of me in Forbes magazine sitting 20 feet from me. I've been in the physical print edition of almost every major newspaper and magazine.
My name is Ed JC Smith. I got a second chance at life, and I'm here to help you live life on your terms. Welcome to Coaching Business Secrets. Today we're with Cameron Herold. Give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Thank you so much for being here, Cameron. It's been a privilege listening to you on Clubhouse, been going into like all the amazing things that you've done, and excited to kind of spend time with you on this sort of subject of building your coaching business.
Sure. Thank you.
If it's okay, like I just give the viewers an insight to what you've done in the past to where you are now, because you've got an immense background.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I was groomed as an entrepreneur. So my dad was an entrepreneur, as were both my sets of grandparents. They groomed my brother and sister and I to all be entrepreneurs. We've all been running our own companies for roughly 20 to 25 years each. I started coaching entrepreneurs really before coaching was a thing. I started coaching, I had 16 coaching clients in 1989. So I was coaching 32 years ago. In 1993, I coached Kimball Musk, who was Elon's brother. And then I also coached his cousin, Peter Reeve, who built Solar City. I've gone on to coach hundreds of entrepreneurs. I coached the CEO of Sprint. I coached the family that owns the country of Qatar. I've coached a number of technology companies. Typically, my clients are 50 to 500 employees, but I've also built a number of brands. I was the second in command for a company called 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Took them from 14 employees to 3,100 employees in 6 years. We ended up ranked as the #2 company in Canada to work for, landed 5,200 stories in the media about our company. I've written 5 books, and then I just recently launched a course that really I should have launched 12 years ago, but I launched my course called Invest in Your Leaders 8 days ago. So you're kind of one of the first people to talk about it or hear about it.
What are you most excited about the course?
Well, on the monetary side, I mean, because we're talking to coaches, I had left a lot of money on the stage. I've been paid to speak in 26 countries. So I've done probably 750 paid speaking events. But all I ever had to sell from the stage was either my books, and I've written 5 books, or my coaching program, which is 48,000 a year for, an hour and a half a month with me. So there was really nothing in between. So that's one reason, just on the money side. The other reason was I've really been, I think, leaving a lot of I used to call them soft skills, but really the critical leadership skills that all the managers and leaders need to have. So it's situational leadership, coaching, delegation, time management, problem solving, conflict management, interviewing, effective meetings, really the skills that every leader and manager needs, that I would teach my clients and their teams, but I never even really codified it in any of my books. It was just always stuff that, I'd been doing and was in my head and I've worked on for 30 years, but I never actually decided to codify it. So it's just a great way to actually share it with people.
Codify it.
Yeah, so I'm very well known for building franchise organizations. I've built a number of franchise chains that went on to become the biggest in the world. And then I'm very well known for coaching companies that go on to become like cults. I've coached 2 companies in Australia that went on to become #1 in Australia. I coached the current #3 company in the US to work for on Glassdoor. I coached the #12 company to work for on Glassdoor, like just company after company that became these cultures. And I'm very good at systemizing things so that they can be applied into a franchise. When I talk about codifying, I almost mean giving the step-by-step instructions on how to do things. So I don't really speak in theory. All of my books are very tactical. kind of the take-home systems on how to do it.
Which out of those 5 is your favorite?
Somebody asked me that the other day, and I'm not trying to avoid the question, but they're very different. So Vivid Vision is probably the one that is selling the fastest right now. Mind Valley just paid me a significant check to film a course just for them on Vivid Vision that they're launching next month. So they're launching my quest on Vivid Vision. But I think, you know, Double Double really has a lot of the great systems, and it's 11 years old and people are still reading it and loving it. They're just all so different. You know, from a monetary perspective, I love Meetings Suck because people are buying 50, 60, 70 at a time because they're buying it for every employee, versus most business books, you know, they buy 1 or 2.
So what's your book creation process?
Great question. The only one that is different from my process, I co-authored The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs with Hal Elrod, and we had a different process for that one. So for the 4 that I've written, I speak them. I'm very natural at thinking out loud, and I find it very easy to walk around and think. So I do a table of contents for what the book is going to be covering for each chapter. And then I think about each chapter and the core points I'm going to cover in each chapter. And then I walk around and I digitally record it. So even 11 years ago, I used Dragon Dictation. Now I just use Otter. But I talk and my content gets transcribed. And then I sit down with the transcription and I copy and paste and edit it a little bit, send it off to an editor who does the first round of editing. And then I give it off to a few entrepreneurs and they actually give me the feedback. But I've done 3 of my books with a company called Scribe. They used to be called Book in a Box. And I'm an investor and an advisor to the company as well. So they've really helped me to fast track to get all the content out and polish it.
I like that.
Yeah, like I find it much easier to get my content out of my head by thinking and than by sitting and typing. My brain works much faster than even my 70 words a minute that I can type.
So how long is average your books? Because it's amazing that's a key question we get asked so much.
Yeah, they're about 170 to 200 pages per book.
Yeah.
They're real books. They're real books with real content. They're tight. Some of my books have been published now in Russia, Portugal, China. So picked up, there's been distribution rights and licensing on a number of my books. Yeah, they're Double Double is I think 230 pages.
What about the title? What about the title process?
Well, the title of Double Double was given to me by Seth Godin. I had approached Seth, who I've been friends with forever, and told him what the concept was about. And I said, it's about doubling your revenue and profit. I was originally calling it Double. And he said, no, it's a double double because you're doubling revenue and profit. And then he wrote the front cover testimonial for the book. So I just went, I'm like, if you're going to give me the title and quote it, like I'll use your title. Meetings Suck was given to me by one of my clients because he kept complaining about his meetings. And I said, you know, meetings don't suck. You suck at running meetings. So it just kind of rolled off the tongue. Vivid Vision is about a concept that I codified that most businesses really suck at vision. You know, they have a mission statement. They took 6 words and they mashed them up into one sentence. And they said, go team. So that's just a concept. It's actually trademarked. It's being registered right now. So it'll be a registered trademark in about 30 days. So the trademark was just approved. And then free PR was just how to land free press. Like there's no real, you know, great name. It's just what it is. I'm not that creative.
A side note,
yeah.
I read a book recently, Giftology. Am I right in
John
saying
Ruhlin.
he talks about you in that book, right?
Yeah, chapter 1 is about me. And John just sent gifts to my boys yesterday. So I have 2 boys that are 17 and 19. And these big, huge boxes arrived. And my kids opened up these boxes. And there were these chef knives with their names on them. And nothing about John Ruhlin, nothing about Giftology, nothing about me. There was a note to each of my boys and a chef's knife. And the note to them said, I saw that you just did a cooking course with your father. And it would be, you know, wrong of me not to send you knives as well. So they now have these beautiful chef's knives. I mean, who does that? But he's an amazing human being. We've become really good friends. And yeah, I'm written up in chapter 1 of Giftology.
What it was, and
Yeah.
talking about him getting you shirts and all that business.
Oh gosh, that was a whole, yeah, he filled an entire hotel room filled with Brooks Brothers clothing for me about 12 years ago, which is when we first met.
It's very cool, a great book. So
Yeah.
let's talk about free PR then. I mean, who
And
doesn't?
he used the same company, Scribe, helped him with Giftology as well.
Okay, we're definitely going to check that out. I'll put that in the notes.
Yeah.
So talk about free PR. I mean, who doesn't want free PR?
Well, yeah, it's funny, like you and I met on Clubhouse, and I
Yeah.
appeared yesterday in an article about Clubhouse. I'll send you the link to it. But um, I started landing free press coverage when I was 21, and I didn't really know that it should be harder to get than it is. Turns out it's actually really easy. I just wanted to get, I was running a house painting company. I couldn't get a job, so I decided to start my own business when I was 20, and I had 12 employees. And I phoned the newspaper and I said, "Hey, it was really hard for me to get a job. I think I have a good story for you." And I called the journalist and he goes, "Well, what is it?" And I told him, and I said, "I'm painting a house 10 blocks from your office. Why don't you come over?" And he said, "Okay." And he came over and he wrote a story and took a picture, and I was in the newspaper the next day. I'm like, that was easy. Um, we've been on Oprah. I've been in the like most people will say I've been in Forbes. It's like, no, you were on Forbes website and some blogger wrote about you. I have a full page article of me in Forbes magazine sitting 20 feet from me. I've been in the physical print edition of almost every major newspaper and magazine. I've been the print edition of American Airlines magazine, and it's all by the same way of thinking about your angle. Like you have 4 story angles right now. You've got a story about how you quit your shitty job and started your business. You have a story about how you're overcoming adversity and maybe taking care of your parents while running your business. You have your hero's journey of the struggles and trials and tribulations and when you almost went bankrupt and how you succeeded from that. You have a story about how your product or service has helped a customer. And then you have a story about how you're leveraging technology or culture. Those are all stories that are worthy in the media. So most people send out news wires and press releases, and then a journalist gets 200 pitches a day. But if you pick up the phone and just say to the journalist, "Hey, I think I have a good story for you. Do you have 2 minutes?" They usually say yes. In fact, they almost always say yes because they can't afford to go find stories. And 2 minutes is a good way to see if it's a good story. And because you're picking up the phone and calling them, you cut through the clutter because they only get 4 phone calls a day. So anyway, I just go into that in the book Free PR to give people the secrets because I think they get ripped off by PR firms. PR firms are telling you that they have relationships. There's no way they have 5,000 relationships. Maybe they have 10, but if you want to get 50 stories over the next 2 years, they're picking up the phone and calling journalists too. So it's just cheaper for you to do it yourself.
Makes sense, Cameron. What do you think in today's market is one of the best strategies that you're using to get your message out there, not including PR, obviously?
Well, and social media for sure is I've been very, very early, like even prior to early adopter. I'm in that innovator 0.04% usually. I was one of the first people in the world on LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn for 18 years. I was one of the first, well, I was the first person that 1-800 got junk. We had 248 people at our head office and everyone was laughing at me when I was on Facebook. Clubhouse is an interesting one right now because I can actually think out loud. I can sit back in the room when I'm doing my workout or going for a drive or cooking, and I can listen in on conversations and learn. And then if there's an opportunity for me to contribute, I can contribute. And then there's also the cross-pollination of PR, right? Where you can just take press and share it on social platforms. So social platforms have been really big for me. And then even Zoom, like I've been doing paid virtual speaking events for 8-9 years. I was doing them over Skype before Zoom existed. And now during COVID, I've done 8 paid speaking events since January 1st without leaving my living room. I did 2 in person, but 6 that were, right where I'm sitting right now.
What's the game plan now? Look, you've done some super amazing things. We're going to do a call to action for free PR because I think that's going to be an amazing book for people to find out. Tell them just quickly where they can get that.
Yeah, so all of my books are available on Amazon, Audible, and iTunes.
Cool.
My main website is the CameronHerold.com. If they want to check out some of the press, there's a media page there where they can see hundreds of podcast interviews and media interviews with me. The big push for me right now is my course. I just launched Invest in Your Leaders, and it's just critical for businesses to grow. I've always believed if you grow your people, they'll grow your company. And I flip the org chart upside down so that the CEO is at the bottom, supporting the VPs, supporting the managers, supporting the customers. And if we grow our people, they'll grow our business. So I think that's the big push for me right now, is just really getting the message out about that. And we've had huge sales in the first 13 days that we've launched.
What drives you today?
Well, it's not money, because I have enough money. It's really, I mean, Simon Sinek was on my board 5 years before he did his TED Talk, right? His Start With Why. So my core purpose, Simon and I sat in my home, I don't know, 15 years ago, talking about core purpose and why. And I've always liked helping entrepreneurs make their dreams happen. It goes all the way back to 1989 when I was coaching entrepreneurs back then. So I just like helping entrepreneurs. The money just comes. So for me, I think what's driving me is spending time with my kids. I'm preparing to start living globally now. I'm going to be living globally 2 months of every quarter, and I'll come back to North America 1 month per quarter. So a little bit of that time with my friends and family. I'm heading skiing in 2 days with my boys, my girlfriend. So we're heading off into the mountains in British Columbia to go to a beautiful resort that I skied at 30 years ago that I've been wanting to take them to. Just more of that.
Nice. How long are
Yeah,
you going for?
a week.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
called Rossland Red Mountain. It's amazing. It's the fastest men's downhill in the world. My sister finished her ski racing career there.
Biggest learning from your past businesses?
One is, if you're hiring people, listen to them. We almost lost the company 1-800-GOT-JUNK because we weren't listening to our head of finance. And we were so driven. I'm a 98D on disc and I'm a 4393 Colby. Like, I'm going 100 miles an hour, that I often don't sit and listen to the quieter, analytical, more amiable people. And so if I'm bringing them into a meeting, it's to listen to them. If I'm hiring them, it's to listen to them, and it's to speak last. So I really work hard at speaking last in business.
Speaking last, I like that.
Well, because otherwise, why am I inviting them into the meeting in the first place?
Yeah. Right, I don't want to brag, but I've been rated by the podcast king as 10 out of 10 for these questions. So are you ready? Here they go.
Uh-oh.
1 second.
We're going rapid fire, are we?
When you can take your time. If it's too much time, I might have to. All right, so what's the best question you've been asked?
What's the best question I've been asked? Wow.
It's a good one.
That might be it. That might be it. The best. I don't know, but I know the answer that I'm giving more right now is that none of this actually matters. You know, that at the end of the day, we're all going to die. And this is just what we do to make money. And we shouldn't be taking ourselves so effing seriously, right? Like, you know, you're taking care of aging parents. My parents are aging. None of us are getting out of this alive. Like, we're all just walking each other home. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that early enough. My mom passed away when I was 35, and that was the first person I ever knew who died. I think I wish I'd known that earlier in life. I think I wish I'd encountered death and end of life much younger to realize that I should have had more fun along the way. So I'm trying to do more fun now.
So have you read Brony Wars, The Key 5 Regrets?
No.
Cameron, I'll send it to you. It's a great book. If
Yeah,
you can
I would
send
love
me your
to.
address afterwards, I'll send it to you.
Thank you. My youngest son is now reading Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. He just started it yesterday on his own. I'm like, that's amazing. So great. So
yeah. So having more fun then might be one of the regrets that
just enjoying the journey as well. Like, why can't we just enjoy the journey? Like, business doesn't have to be difficult and serious, right? We can laugh, we can have a good time, we can, you know, be more relaxed. I think Gen Y is quite good at that. And I think maybe I'm, you know, I was the first year of Gen X. So I'm 55 right now. I think I had to to maybe unlearn what the baby boomers taught me, right?
Because it can come across almost morbid, right? The concept of like it doesn't actually matter, right? Nothing really matters.
Yeah, and I don't mean it in the morbid way. It's just like how much money, like the money comes easy when I don't focus on the money, and I can still drive hard and work hard and but I can also just enjoy the journey, you know? I remember I ran a marathon 5 years ago because I really wanted to run a marathon, and I enjoyed like well, not every step of it, but I re, I, re, I remember it because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed looking at the people. I enjoyed looking at the buildings. I enjoyed looking at the scenery. I enjoyed the marathon. You know, I didn't just finish a race and look at my watch. Like I actually enjoyed the 26.2 miles. My left hip didn't enjoy it, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I love that. I love Man's Search for Meaning. It was one of my first books. I really had a profound impact, and I do believe when you can access the fact that, again, it doesn't mean anything unless you want it to mean, which is, again,
Yeah,
is our own choice of reality, our own meanings. And just notice when we are giving ourselves disempower ones. Yeah, I think it's super powerful. What is something that people misunderstand about you?
they think I'm very confident, and I'm actually extraordinarily insecure. I if I was invited to a cocktail party at your home, as an example, and I knew there were going to be 20 people there, I would probably be the last one to arrive. I would walk around the block 3 or 4 times, hyperventilating. Um, yeah, I would rather stand on stage and speak to 1,000 people right now than go to a cocktail party with 20 people.
Really?
Yeah, so when I'm paid to speak at conferences, I usually avoid everybody and I'm hiding in the hallway, or I'm outside and people are like, "Are you catching your breath?" I'm like, yeah, I'm getting my breath. Yeah, I don't, yeah, it's hard. So, but so then they think that I'm like cocky or
Antisocial.
something.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm really not. I just don't like people that much. It's hard.
Where do you think that comes from?
Um, I don't know. Like, I don't know. And it's funny because I throw myself in the face of it. I've been going to Burning Man since 2007. And every time I go to Burning Man, I'm driving in going, what the fuck am I doing? Like there's 70,000 people here that don't know me and they don't care what I do for work. And I'm not on a stage and I got to go just have casual conversations with strangers for 7 days. Like, what am I doing? I somehow come out of it alive. Right?
Well, good for you. Thank you for the share. I appreciate that. Tell me about a client that touched your heart.
Whew, guy named John Ratliff. So John started a company called Apple Tree, and I coached John 14 years ago, and he was doing some acquisitions, and I told him a book called The Dream Manager, and The Dream Manager is about really caring about your employees' lives and dreams and goals. And then John took the idea from The Dream Manager and merged it with the Children's Wish Foundation, and he granted wishes to his employees. And they were big wishes, like giving the daughter the perfect birthday she never had, or getting the husband who was dying out onto the field to meet the Philadelphia Eagles, or it was like the dying wishes kind of type wishes. And he spent $420,000 over 3 years on granting wishes to his employees. And he did you can see a video about it. It's like a 7-minute video on YouTube. If you look up Apple Tree Dream On program, you'll see it, and you should tag it. If people watch it and don't cry, it blows my mind because they're not human. It's so touching. And when I talk about that, I just say that we don't have an obligation as entrepreneurs to build great companies. We don't have an obligation to care about our people, but what if we did? Right. And I think that's where he really hit me, because he really, really connected with employees that were kind of the minimum wage frontline call center employees. He ended up going on to sell his company for $107 million. And it's because his culture was so strong.
I'll definitely check that out. What's the one thing your program has done so far that you didn't expect, or could have been from a book?
Well, so I started an organization called the COO Alliance, and it's the only real network of its kind in the world for the second in command. And we've got members from 9 countries. And it's been amazing to see these COOs just say that they finally found their tribe, because there's so many groups for entrepreneurs, so many mastermind communities like YPO and EO and Vistage and Genius Network and War Room. And then there's groups for marketers and lawyers and engineers and doctors, but there was no mastermind community for the COO, for the second in command. So I've just been really pleased to see that they have their tribe, right? And that's been kind of cool.
Best tip for making the world a better place?
Just giving a shit about people, just like we're all just walking each other home.
That's nice.
Like we are all going to die, right? Like just being nice to people.
Or just walking each other home. I like that. Yeah. That's sweet. Best compliment you've received?
Well, I think well, I don't know. I've had a lot of employees just say, like, an employee of mine yesterday goes, "Dude, I love you." I'm like, "Wow, thank you." I get a lot of compliments like that from my employees and from CEOs that I've coached that just really feel that I've given to them.
There's no barriers, there's no limitation, there's no time or money issues. What project would you do to develop and impact the world?
Yeah, so I did a talk that's on the main TED website. I did a talk about raising kids as entrepreneurs. And I said for years that if I was, filthy rich and had a private jet and could just fly all over the world, or, if somebody funded me and just said, go anywhere, I would go and say yes to all the speaking events to groups of kids that people have wanted me to, that didn't have the money to book me. Because I think, and it's not as important maybe now, but when I was growing up, entrepreneurship was evil. Entrepreneurs were greedy. Entrepreneurs were really shamed. And it became very cool to be an entrepreneur around 1999, 2000 at the rise of the first .com era. So for the last 20 years, being an entrepreneur is cool, and parents will say to the kids, you should be an entrepreneur. But that was something that I probably would have done, would have inspired more kids to be entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial and to make it cool. So maybe I've missed the boat on that one.
How would your parents describe what you do?
Well, I was groomed as an entrepreneur. That's all I've ever done. I'm not employable. I'm not employable. My brother and my sister and I have all been entrepreneurs for almost our whole lives, right? My first business venture that I remember, I was 7. And I went door to door collecting coat hangers, and then I sold them for 2.5 cents a piece to the dry cleaners, because dry cleaners used to buy coat hangers or pay recycling. That's all I've ever done is be an entrepreneur.
Dinner with 3 people. Who do you choose? Those 3 people are alive.
If they were alive, or
they are alive, yeah.
Oh, they are alive. I mean, I've known Elon for 26 years, so I would pass on that because I've already known him for too long. Richard Branson, and I've had a lot of chances to meet him, but I haven't done it. I'd like to meet Justin Trudeau, our Canadian Prime Minister. Even though I don't think he's been a bad Prime Minister, I think he's a really good human. And we're, strangely enough, Barbara Corcoran fascinates me. She and I won an award that's only given to one person a year. It's a really bad award, but we won. It's from the International Dyslexia Association, and it's given to one person who overcomes severe learning disabilities. And I'd like to just sit with her one-on-one and find out, how she's done it, how she's overcome the dyslexia that she had as well.
3 dead people.
And you know what? I might even switch out Richard Branson for Jamie Oliver. Jamie Oliver, I just have cooked almost every one of his dishes, and I had a chance to have dinner with Jamie years ago, and I think I'd like to have dinner with Jamie.
That's cool.
Yeah, and his food's great. It's easy to. Three dead people: JFK, John F. Kennedy, my mom, I miss her, and my grandfather, who passed away when I was 2. He was the only one of my grandparents that I never met. My other 3 died when I was in my 30s. So, yeah.
What would you tell to your 18-year-old self?
I wrote an entire chapter in my book, Double Double. I'll send you the link to it. There was like 60 letters to my younger self. It was all of the business. Now it would be, don't take yourself so fucking seriously. But when I wrote the book 11 years ago, it was a bunch of business lessons that I wish I'd known at a younger age. But now I just don't think many of those even matter as much. I think it's just have some fun along the way.
What should I have asked you that I didn't know enough to ask you?
I don't know, maybe just because we're on, this won't be very deep, but because we met on Clubhouse, I think it would just be interesting to know, like, why am I someone who is so busy or already has a brand? Why am I on Clubhouse? And I'm just intrigued by the discussions and the platform and the people. And I'm just meeting some really cool people and listening in on some cool conversations. And I'm really not there to sell stuff. I am, but I'm not there for that. I just think it's a really freaking cool platform.
Yeah, it is very, very cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. Like, and you actually have to pay attention because you can't just like type a comment and leave. You actually have to pay attention to the whole thread. It's really neat.
It's going to be fascinating to see where it goes. Do you think it will? I mean, what's your view on it? Will it last? Will it not?
Oh yeah, it's going to last. Unfortunately, marketers are like every platform. Marketers are killing the platforms, right? Which is sad. And I made a comment about that on the weekend, that I think we have to be cognizant as marketers to not destroy every platform, because we're supposed to be there to contribute and learn and listen. I think when the search functionality for rooms opens up a little bit more, so you can find rooms that you're interested in, I think it will flatten out a little bit. Yeah, I don't think it's going away. I think it's just going to get stronger.
What makes you feel inspired to be your best self on a daily basis?
My girlfriend. She's just driven and focused and smart and fun and silly, and has the wanderlust to just go and explore, and and she just wants to be a better person every day. It's cool.
What got 2 more, Cameron. The most important thing you've learned and why?
Well, one of them that just came to mind is that it's not what you know, it's who you know. Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy, who I'm friends with, just wrote a book called Who Not How. And I think so many entrepreneurs are trying to figure out how to do everything. It's not, it's who can do it, or who can you outsource to, or who knows that. And I grew up in an era where you had to be the smartest person in the room, right? You had to memorize everything, because the only other way you could get the information was go to the library, and somebody had always checked out the darn book. So like, couldn't get the information. You had to, whereas now you just have to know how to find the information. And so I've spent a lot of time in mastermind groups. I've gone to the main 5-day TED conference for 9 years. I've been in the Genius Network for 6 years. I've been in a lot of masterminds, and I think it's more the connections and really getting to know people and know their strengths and ask for help that's been powerful for me.
Any tips for increasing your connections?
Yeah, like using your ears and listening, reading people's profiles, not showing up to talk, but showing up to listen, not showing up to write your notes, but showing up to read. Not being the smartest person in the room. I was in a mastermind 18 years ago, and there was this guy, and after 3 days, he hadn't said anything. And I turned to one of my friends in the group. I'm like, who is that guy? He's like, he's Robert Allen. And I'm like, Robert Allen, like the $100 million Robert Allen? They're like, yeah. I'm like, he's said nothing for 3 days. And the guy goes, yeah, he's here to learn. And I'm like, that's amazing, right? So I think it's just more of that. If you want to deepen your connections, it's just get to know people.
So one more call to action, then last question. So anyone that's listening that want to get access to you, Cameron Herold, Amazon, all your books are on Audible. We were talking about free PR, and I said you got some amazing books, so I'd strongly recommend binge consuming and go for it. So last question, Cameron, and thank you so much for being here. Meaning of life.
The meaning of life? Oh, well, we don't have enough. We don't have enough pot. We don't have enough marijuana to figure that one out. I really don't know, but it's really fun. It's just really fun trying to figure it out.
So maybe there is no meaning. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think there is. I just think we get to enjoy the journey and be a good person and hopefully leave a bit of a butterfly effect for the people that are here after us, right?
I've interviewed, I reckon, about 300 people on that, and I think you're the first to say there isn't. That's very interesting.
I don't think there is a meaning. I think it's just...
Wow, that's very cool.
We get to create one, right?
Yeah, nice.
I've spent a lot of time at Burning Man in the middle of the night, lying on the playa, staring up at the stars and looking at all the art cars and going like, what's the purpose of this? And I don't think there is, man. I just think it's fun.
Thanks so much. I massively appreciate you. And if you're listening and you've been touched, go and check out Cameron's stuff, buy his books and audios, and definitely jump into a leader course with someone like yourself, because again, at the end of the day, if you can't manage people, you can't scale. So I would just strongly recommend that. Thank you so much, Cameron, for being here.
Hey.
If you want further help in this area, we are opening up a couple of strategic calls with my team. It's not a sales call. All right, it's purely a one-to-one consultancy session. All right, it's a true value to our business at $500. That is what I charge our team out at a consultancy level. However, it's completely for free. All right, there's nothing for you to buy. It's a consultancy session. All right, at the end of that session, if it makes sense for you and if it makes sense for us, and if we believe that you have a good offer, all right, we'll make you an offer and we'll walk you through what potentially would entail becoming a client of ours. However, it's not a sales call and there's nothing to buy, okay? At the end of that, you will walk away with a clear plan, a clear structure of exactly how to do this, okay? And so we've had a great testimonials off the back of people booking calls. Someone like Gary who was stuck in his membership and it was like $97 a month. I hate low front-end memberships. They don't work. It's very difficult to scale your business, especially when you're starting, okay? And so we were able to help Gary plan out his signature program, plan out his increased prices, that he was able to take it up to a 5K offer, what he was needing to do to provide that. And as a direct result of that, was able to translate that into 3 sales off the back of that call within a short period of time. So that call in essence made him 15K, and that was a free call. So click the link below and you can book a strategy session with our team and they'll take you through that. There is an application process so that we are working with people that are serious. If you're not serious, please don't bother. All right, I appreciate you. Just go out, hang out with some more free information online. But if you are serious and you want help right now, then click the link, go through the application process, make sure you fill that out effectively. If for whatever reason we don't believe that you're going to be serious or you're not going to turn up, then we will cancel that call because it's only on a first come basis. That being said, if you want a free strategy session of value, $500 to get you clear right now, then click the link and I'll see you there. All right, that's the end of today's session. Thanks for watching. If you like these sorts of videos, then subscribe to the channel and I look forward to seeing you again soon.